And I'm sitting in physics class, and my teacher was really strict, hated phones. And all of a sudden, my phone just starts to blow up in my pocket, like blow up. I got like one buzz, which I didn't think anything of it, but later I realized that was the email from Lisa saying you got the part. And then my mom also at that point was on the email because yeah, she would just help me respond to things when I was in school or whatever. So she texted me, and then she told my dad, and my phone, I could feel in my pocket just blowing up, and I'm like, what is going on in my life right now? And I'm sitting there in class, and I couldn't take it out because literally the teacher would yell. And we were doing a bottle rocket thing where we walked outside. So I went to the back of the line as we're walking outside, and I had a moment to pull my phone out, and I just saw Lisa Lloyd and then booking, and I knew it, and I was like, oh my gosh. And like I ran up to my friend, like right in front of me. I was like, I just booked Superman. I just booked the Royal Young Set, and he turned to me. He's like, no way. And I was like, yeah. And I was like so happy. And I was totally not paying attention for the experiment. My teacher like lost it with me because I was just like smiling and laughing. And yeah, so it was a really fantastic moment. I was just, yeah, I mean, I was thrilled. I couldn't describe that feeling. Anytime you book something, it's just great. But to play young Clark was really, really cool.
I want to welcome you to another episode of Media from the Heart. My name is Ruth Hill, and I'm your host today and every day. Today's episode is so special to me. Dylan Kingwell. He and I go way back, which is kind of funny because, as you'll see in this episode, he's a young man now. He's graduated from high school, which just like blows my mind because I remember him from when he was a little boy. And I first reached out when I saw him on The Good Doctor, but I saw him in The Returned. And that there's a whole story as to why I saw him in The Returned, but I'm not going to get into that because this episode is about Dylan, not me. But I just want you to just jump in and watch this guy. He was able to record this, and before, like, we had to really work hard to book him because he's one busy young man. And if you go on his social media, you're going to find out just how busy. But hopefully you are going to recognize him from some Hallmark movies, The Good Doctor, Ruby in the Well. There's lots of things that he's in, and this young man, I am so totally impressed. And so just sit back and enjoy this amazing young man who I am just in total awe of. Take it away, Dylan. I want to welcome you to another episode of Media from the Heart. My name is Ruth Hill, and I am your host. And today I have a guest. I've known him for a while. In fact, I have to keep reminding myself, he's a young man. He's not a kid. I was just telling him about that because we first connected when he was a younger teenager. Now he's an adult. His voice has changed. So Dylan Kingwell, it is so wonderful to have you here. Such a joy.
Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah, I know you also have a very busy schedule. He's a hard one to book, people. He is a busy young man. So hard one to book as far as interviews. That's what I mean. It's his.
Yeah, for roles, I hope that it's a little bit easier.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, and roles should be your priority. Interviews are good, and but we always want to see you in more and more things. So, all right. So I'm going to read a little bio about Dylan just to introduce my listeners and viewers to you. Dylan Kingwell was born in Vancouver, BC, and very much enjoys the West Coast lifestyle of being outdoors and participating in sports, especially playing hockey. That's like a good Canadian.
Yes. Yes.
Dylan is extremely dedicated to his academics, loves reading, and is curious about anything to do with science. Dylan has always been a personable and outgoing child, so acting was the perfect platform to explore, and now acting has become his passion. Dylan has gained a great deal of experience as a young actor working on a wide variety of projects. Most recently, Dylan appeared as Steve Murphy and Evan, is it Gallico?
Gallico.
Okay. On ABC Network's The Good Doctor. I'd forgotten, I didn't know the last name, so thank you for helping me with that.
No worries.
He was also cast in the Netflix original series A Series of Unfortunate Events as Duncan and Quigley Quagmire, playing two of the three Quagmire triplets. Dylan has appeared as Victor in the A&E TV series The Returned, Young Sam on Supernatural, Just My Imagination, Ethan in the Hallmark movies Wish Upon a Christmas and Campfire Kiss, and lead in the movie Nanny Dearest, and much more. And also The Christmas Note, another movie that's well liked. And so that at least gives you a frame of reference. You have done so much
Thank you.
in
Yeah.
your career. You have a career that I think I know of adults that would love to have the kind of career opportunities.
That's very kind. And I think that bio was written a little while ago for sure. So but that's good because we have more to talk about now, which is great.
We definitely do. Yeah, because that doesn't take into account some of the things you're doing now. And the fact that you came back on The Good Doctor, I was so excited to see you return at a very pivotal point for Sean Murphy. I mean, to have his dead brother pop up like that was so cool. Now we've talked about The Good Doctor, but how did it come about that you suddenly got to come back?
Well, it was kind of a crazy story. Like I don't want to bore you guys with so many details, but basically I was in Toronto working on something else, and I had a flight to Spain booked for the next week for a little trip because I had a vacation. Okay, we like details. Good. So yeah, I had a little vacation, a hiatus coming up from filming, so I had a flight to Spain booked, and I was just gonna fly from Toronto to Spain because obviously that makes more sense than going back home. Because if you don't know, I'm from Vancouver. So and then like literally the day after I had finalized my flight, I got the email saying that The Good Doctor wanted me back, and which was like so exciting. And The Good Doctor films in Vancouver, so I then I had to change my flight and everything because I had to go home. I shouldn't say had. I got to go home because I absolute like when I got that it came out of nowhere. I had no indication, like no one had told me that there's a chance you'll come back. Nothing. I hadn't heard from them in a while. And then yeah, and I was so honored and excited. So I basically I flew home from Toronto one day. The next day I worked on The Good Doctor, and then the next day I flew to Spain. So it was a crazy schedule. But yeah, it was fantastic, and it was just my agent sent an email out of nowhere saying, "Hey, can we? They'd love to have you back. In the next week or two." And I was like, "Okay, great." So
That is cool. Well, I guess you learned what I've heard so many actors say. The way to ensure that you get a booking is to book a holiday.
yeah, it's it's a saying that goes around, and I did learn it for the first time this year. Holidays for an actor are very it's tedious for sure, but these are great problems to have. You want, as an actor, you want to be working as much, and I would have, I didn't even have to think about it. I was like, yes, of course, no doubt in my mind. So
It had to be great to be back on that set because I mean I have watched The Good Doctor. I mean, The Good Doctor, it's like my daughter came home from college and we're watching The Good Doctor and she's like, that show's still on? That was her response. Because of course she's been away at college, so she hasn't been keeping up with all the stuff. And it's just so cool to think that show is still on, still so much of the original cast, still such a wonderfully written show. I mean, it's a complex and they do such an exceptional job. And then you come on, and it's been a couple of years since you've been on, maybe.
Yeah, I was on. I believe it was the finale of season 3, and I would have shot that in fall of 2019. So it was, yeah, it was 3 years, almost 3 years.
Yeah, so that must have been something. What did you have? I know you were on set long to film your part. I realize that, but were you
Yeah.
able to connect with some of the cast maybe or crew that you had worked with previously?
Yeah, so even though he didn't have to be there, Freddie did come to set, and in the show, it does look like, of course, he was there, but actually, he didn't have to be. Um, I was just talking pretty much into the camera, uh, and so he didn't have to be there, but he is lovely and excellent and a professional and just such a great man and a great person to work with, and so he was there, so I got to hear his voice, and that really helped my performance. I could have done it obviously, but just how it helped so much having him there. So I got to briefly connect with him, which is great. Mike Listo, who has been on since the very beginning, he was the director of I believe the episode was called Mount Rushmore, and it was like the third episode of season one or the second or something like that, and that was shot way back in like 2017, and that was when I was in the show the most in the first season. So it's always great to see him again, and yeah, I think for people that I was familiar with, that was about. Oh well, I got to see some cast that weren't in that scene. Like I saw Paige, I saw Richard Schiff, and then some crew like hair and makeup and stuff who have stuck around. So just an absolute pleasure. I mean, it's been so special because I kind of go back in these increments, right? And there's a lot of new people that I get to meet, and then there's also some people who've been there from the very start, and so it's a pleasure. I absolutely adore going back on that show. It's the greatest. I think it's the greatest privilege that I've had so far, I think, in my career. So
That's so
yeah.
I know when your name popped up in the credits, I was like, "He's in this! What? He's in this episode!" Well, I mean, I get so excited when I see names that I recognize, but then it's like, you mean he's gonna pop up as he's gonna play the brother? Like, how is this? And I'm sitting there thinking, okay, he's in it. So how is that gonna work? And then to have your character pop up when he did, it was so memorable. I mean, I realized it was small, but it was so memorable and powerful because it was just that moment where Sean is kind of questioning things, not sure, because he's gone through so much over the past. His character's just gone through so much. I mean,
Yeah.
Freddie, I don't know how he even does he blows my mind in this
He's
show.
he's talented from another world.
That's a good way to put it. I like that. I mean, I just cannot get over. You forget that he's different from that character because you associate him so much with that character that you know. Then it's like, and then you see him in something else, and something else where he's just talking like himself. Like, oh, that's right, he's a real person. And he's got this accent, and all, and he doesn't have autism, and all those things. But you just he is so much has become that character so much. It's hard to it just so anyway, it's amazing. And I'm so glad you got to come back. And I hope they bring you back again. I think there's still more reasons they could bring you back because there are still unsolved parts of his past or and I realize you're getting older now, so that might be harder, but they can always
Yeah.
come back as a vision or something, who knows.
Yeah, well, I mean, anytime I hear from those guys, it's an absolute pleasure. So, I'd be honored. But I'm really glad that it went over so well this time around. I've heard a lot of good things about it, like good reactions and stuff. I think it was like a really great Steve and Sean moment, just a classic. And so I was just, yeah, it was an honor. That's all I can really say.
They could always bring you back as the character that you played when you were a patient. They could bring you back.
I believe things didn't work out so well for Mr. Gallico, unfortunately.
Maybe they could resurrect your character.
I do have a history of playing resurrected characters, in fact.
That's true, you
So
do. For anyone who is not,
maybe.
for anyone who's not checked out The Returned, I mean, I've gotten to talk with you at length about The Returned, and some of our audience members may want to ask you questions about The Return, but I still
Absolutely.
back on that show, and still, it's just like I'm just still blown away that you did all that you did in that show at your age, and just it still blows me away. So,
That's very kind. Thank you.
oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. And it was just, in fact, what was it? I just happened to turn on Hallmark the other day and saw the Christmas Note again, and it was on, and again, it's like there he is again. It's like,
That was my nanny's. I think that was my favorite thing, or her favorite thing that I ever did. She was always text me when it was on. So yeah, that movie holds a very special place in my heart for that, because for my grandmother it was she was a big fan. So yeah.
so I know that you have been involved with another show that's been taking some time that you've really been enjoying. Could you tell us about your current show that you're part of?
Yeah, so it's a show called Ruby in the Well, and it airs in the United States on BYU TV and in Canada on Family Channel. And it's I would classify it as sort of a kids and family show, and it's gotten really good reception from those kind of demographics. And yeah, we essentially the story starts with a single father who's just lost his wife, moving back to his sort of family's hometown with his daughter. That's Ruby. And they find out on their property that there is a magic well that speaks the wishes of the people in the town. And so Ruby makes friends with Mina and Sam, your boy. And Mina and Sam are local residents of the town Emerald. And so they sort of, Ruby and Mina and Sam come together, and that Ruby has this determination and this purpose to grant people's wishes, and Mina and Sam know the town, know the people, and they. I think one of the great things about that show for me personally has been that when the story starts, Sam is just kind of like mystified with, because he's like sort of a conspiracy theorist, he's a interesting kid, and he's mystified with all this, but then actually, spoiler alert a little bit, near the end of season 1 he ends up being the wisher once, which is really like a little bit mind twisting, and from then on it becomes, I think, so much more personal and important for him actually granting the wishes instead of just being along the ride for the magic. We tried to communicate that a little bit in the subtext. So yeah, it's a really lovely show, that I think one of the overarching themes is just that everyone can use a helping hand. Wishers are diverse, they're adults, they're old, they're young, they are intense, and yeah, they can be sort of all over the place, which shows everyone can use a helping hand. So it's a really nice show, and I absolutely love shooting it. Films in Toronto, so it's my first time being away from home for a long time working, and yeah.
Okay, yeah, it's a show I've got to show my mom, because my mom likes family friendly things. I know
Yeah,
that's
then she would love this one, I think.
that's always the thing. It's I can watch things, or like I would not introduce her to Returned. I love The Returned, but I wouldn't introduce her to it because it would probably be a little bit too, because so that's why, so I will just say that for my listeners, viewers, The Returned, I personally love it, but if you're not about edginess, that's probably a show that you may want to just go into, to at least understanding that it's not going to be Hallmark friendly. Okay.
It's a yes,
Yeah, yeah.
it's a good warning to give.
Yeah. Well, I just think it's important. I always want to make sure, because my viewers and listeners, a lot of them are Hallmark, really into Hallmark. Some of them are willing to go a little bit outside that universe.
Yeah.
And so I always want to be very mindful of that when I recommend things. But this show, it's called Ruby and the Magic Well. Is that what it's called?
Ruby and the Well.
And the Well, not the Magic Well. Okay. All right.
It is magic,
It is magic,
but not in the title.
Ruby in the Well. So that's one that it sounds like we could feel comfortable saying this is going to be something that if you like Hallmark, you like family friendly content, this is going to be something that's safe for the family to sit and watch.
Absolutely. And you can, if you are in the States, or if you got a VPN that made it look like you were in the States, you could stream it for free on the BYU TV app.
There you go.
So there's your way of watching. It's also on Amazon Prime, seasons 1 and 2.
Oh,
So if you
good.
have Amazon Prime,
Oh,
yeah, it was really great. We got on streaming, which was like fantastic. So
and hasn't
yeah.
the show been? I know it was nominated for awards. Did you guys win awards yet, or?
We did recently win something. Yeah, I don't. Do you mind if I actually check the email? Because I don't want to misquote what exactly we won. So I will just check it here. The email was from, yeah. So it was something called the Content Innovation Awards, and let's see. Ruby in the Well won the Content Innovation Award for Best Kids Launch of the Year.
Hey,
So,
well,
yeah.
that's pretty awesome. I thought I had seen some. I try to follow the stuff that comes out. There's a lot out there, but I thought I remembered seeing that. So
Thank you.
okay. Well, that's gotta be exciting because I'm trying to think over the course of your career. I know you've been nominated for things. Do you happen to know how many awards you have won, or have you won awards?
Well, personally, Dylan Kingwell has only won one award,
Okay.
and that was a Joey Award in 2016, which is an award for essentially BC performers.
We were talking about the Joey Awards, which I'm actually, and you were talking about. So you won a Joey Award back in 2016 for what?
That was best actor in a guest starring role, and that was for Supernatural.
Oh, okay, that's awesome. The Joey Awards is the only award show I've ever attended in person.
Oh yeah.
Yep, that was back in I don't think it was 2016. I want to say it was 2017, but I'm not 100% sure. I'd have to look at my records, but it was somewhere around in there. So I'd have to look, but yeah, the Joey Award. So that's so you've won one award. Now we just need to get you because you're certainly, in my opinion, deserving of many more awards for your work.
Thank you. That's very kind. Yeah, and then as far as shows I've been in, the Babysitters Club has done well at the Emmys even, which is very cool. I'm struggling to remember if we won best ensemble. I think so, maybe somewhere. Maybe it was like a Joey Award that we won, or I believe we won best ensemble somewhere. I don't think at the Emmys, but like somewhere like that. Yeah, and Ruby in the Well is also nominated for the soundtrack, which I had nothing to do with that, but really cool. So yeah, we've got it's cool. And then A Series of Unfortunate Events was always on the list for things like set design and wardrobe. I know was a big one. Costume design. So yeah, I've just been really lucky to take part in some of these shows with these exceptionally talented people in all parts of the production. So yeah.
So okay, so you've got Ruby in the Well going on now, and what seasons? You have seasons 1 and 2. Is there a third season coming, or do we know?
At this point, it's not clear. Has not been announced.
Good to
So
know. Okay, so we'll keep hoping for. Always are hoping for more seasons. That's always the thing. I know.
yeah, and then as well there was The 100, which I was really lucky to be in season 7 of that back in 2020, and that over its 7 seasons, I'm sure was nominated for some kind of things. Whether it was the actors of the show, I don't know, but I mean, the show was massively successful. And then Superman and Lois, which is also another one of the recent ones that I've been lucky enough to do.
My goodness.
So, yeah.
I think I'm behind on watching some of these things that you've been in.
Yeah, I was in. I was really lucky. I got to be in 3 episodes of the first season of Superman and Lois, and that was an absolute pleasure because I was playing young Clark. So, yeah.
Well, of course you were. I can totally. Now we just need to get what we need to get. Now, I'm going to throw this out here. Disney needs to take a look at you, as far as I'm
Uh,
concerned.
I will divulge that in the past I've auditioned for Disney Plus, and that's all I'll say on the matter. But
Okay.
yeah, so it's maybe one day, maybe it's in the works. We'll
I,
see.
I'm going to hope that it is because it's like it's high time. You have had all this incredible experience. You're so versatile. You're still what I really love in the way that we're talking and just hearing you tell your story and talk about things. You still have that humility, that work ethic, and with all your success at such a young age, we know that young people who get involved in acting and film industry and all that early on can sometimes have real problems by the time they're 18, 19, 20. And you seem like you're on a path that's not happening for you, which is good.
Well, thank you very much.
Yeah, so why do you think that you're not experiencing those issues of, so many times it seems like these young, like a lot of the young people that we hear the stories about, I realize it's not all of them, but why do you think that you've been spared from some of that, some of those challenges that some young people in your position might go through?
Well, I think it has a lot to do with the people that I've been lucky enough to have around me. My parents, both of them, are incredible parents, and they're can't say enough good things, really. My mom has been on set with me nearly every day of my career, which ends now, by the way, because I'm 18, so I don't need my parents anymore. But yeah, I, you know, couldn't say enough good things about them. They're entirely responsible for the person that I am becoming. Yeah, and then beyond that, my representation, Lisa Lloyd and Tom Gusway, I owe my entire career to them. I seriously do. So yeah, and then friends and other family, sisters, aunts, uncles, grandparents, everyone contributes. And yeah, but I really think that, people are often a product of their environment, and that applies to me too. And I've just been exceptionally lucky, really, to have such great people. So yeah.
That's great, Dylan. And then what I'm hearing from you is gratitude and community. Like you are grateful for every role that you ever book. It's not like it's not, it's so you have gratitude for the career that you've had, for the people that you've gotten to work with. And then that community has been so supportive. So I'm hearing, and I really do believe that those two elements, there's a lot more, but those two elements are really strong with you. I can see that. And I would agree that that's kept you on the right path. And so that's great. I am you're that's one of the reasons I want to bring people like you on the show, to say you don't have to go through sometimes people have these weird ideas. Well, if you get in film and TV, you have to you're going to end up being like this, the
Yeah.
list of things. And yet you haven't. I'm not saying you haven't had any problems. Okay. I mean, you're human. but you are showing us that there is another way. You don't have to fall in, become one of the statistics that's out there. So
Absolutely. I mean, there is, the phrase child actor has I would say, not a positive reputation. And that's what I've always been. But no, it's just, yeah, I mean, I can't even, take any of the credit for that. It's really just the way that my parents have raised me, amongst my family. They've never, you know, on set, it's hard because when you walk in a set as an actor, you are treated differently than other people, and in a positive way, in the sense that you're treated like you're very important. Actors are pampered, really, is the only fair word to describe it. And so, it does make sense to see, people gain a little bit of success and it gets to their head. Um, but it's, no matter how been treated on set, and I've been lucky to just have been treated amazingly by all the crews I've worked with, really. Um, when I get home, I'm just Dylan, and I'm perfectly happy like that, and that's how I want it to be. Because I don't that there's different things that come with acting, but that's just always been my like main activity. I don't see it as any different than my sister playing high level hockey, or my friends who have their activities and everything. It just so happens that mine involves a little bit of glamour, I guess, around it. But in the end, we're all just pursuing our passions and the things that we love to do. And that's been I've been reminded of that over the years by my parents and everyone in my life, and I think that that's reason number one that I've been able to just make it through some of the crazy stuff that happens and be okay. So yeah.
Oh, well, thanks for sharing.
Excuse me, by the way, if I'm sniffling a lot. I'm getting over like a really bad flu. Yeah,
that's okay. You're doing. I kind of figured you were, but you're doing fine. It's fine. You're fine. No, but thank you for sharing all that, Dylan, because it means a lot when you come to someone like me who is I'm getting closer to 50, not that far off. And so when I look at young people, I want to look for positive young people, positive people who like you, and that's just what that's that. Yeah, you're an actor, so that's exciting to bring on the show. But really, what you just shared to me is the most important thing, and so thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, so I know that we have people who want to ask questions. Who are in my audience. And so, okay, Timmy, you are ready and raring to go.
Yes, I just have a couple of quick questions. I love how grounded you are. I really enjoyed this conversation. It's flowing. I like listening to the two of you talk. So my first question is, what was the best advice you were ever given that furthered your acting career?
Ooh. That's a wonderful question. Thank you. Sorry, I need to think about this for a moment. Well, actually, in terms of like acting ability, two pieces of advice come to mind. One of them was given to me by Rachel Talalay, who directed an episode of Superman and Lois, and it was a very sort of simple thing, but it really makes a difference. And it was about eye contact as an actor. And I got caught, because the thing about acting, which I think a lot of people don't realize, is it's a skill, it's an art, and it's something that you can improve. It's not like you're born with it or you're not, and I got caught, because I've been doing it for a long time, but I'm nowhere near a pro or a master of the craft or anything like that. So, you're human, you get caught. I got caught making 100% eye contact the entire scene with Michelle, who was playing my mom. And Rachel just took me to the side and said, when you have a conversation in real life, are you looking at the person 100% of the time? And I said, you're right. And she said, just think about it. And it's useful for auditions too. Casting directors will see that. And she's totally right. And just a very minor adjustment of, just sort of being mindful of how realistic do my actions look. In a real conversation, would you look at this person all the time? Are you blinking this much? Things like this, it really like opened my mind up to that sort of very delicate but important part of performing as an actor. So that was really valuable and something that I think about every time I act. truly. And the second came not directly from someone, but it was I just read the autobiography of the actor Michael Caine, who was prolific in his time, and still even to this day. And there was a part where he was explaining how he was in the theater when he was young, and he was playing a drunk character. And so, he comes on stage and he's stumbling and, drooling and slurring his words and everything. And the director just stops him and says, what are you doing? And Michael says, well, I'm playing a drunk guy. And the director says, someone who's really drunk is trying to act sober. You're trying to act drunk. And it's just like one of these very like, oh, that should be obvious. But it takes, you have to, people have to point these things out to you. And so, I have never had to play anyone drunk. Although I did actually recently do an audition of someone who was under the influence of something. And that definitely, came into my performance. So, yeah, I think I just do my best to pick up these little tips from wherever I can. And those two, every time I act from here on out, I will be thinking of them. So, yeah.
I like that. Little things do make a huge difference most of the time. So talking about Superman, if you could, what superpower would you like to have and why?
I'm pretty torn between flying and teleportation because teleportation is, obviously efficient, but flying is, it's about the journey, not the destination, right? So I don't know. No, I would say teleportation. It just seems like, if you were ever in like a dangerous situation, then now you're not. And if you ever just really, really want to see, the New York skyline, you can. That to me seems like the most appealing. So yeah, teleportation.
Sounds good. And what do you like to do for fun?
I love to learn languages for fun. I speak a few. I love to play the guitar. I love to. I'm a huge into the World Cup. I in the last year I've become a massive football fan, and I've always kind of been aware of it because my granddad is English. He was born in Newcastle, and Newcastle's having an excellent season this year. So I've always kind of been aware of it, but really in this past year I've gotten super into it, and now Canada's at the World Cup, and so it's all kind of coming together. And I like just before this I was watching Argentina versus Mexico. Like I'm so into it. So yeah, I got a couple things that I love.
What languages do you speak?
I'm fluent in English, French, Spanish, and Italian.
Oh wow, that's impressive.
Thank you. And I am learning German right now. We have a German fan in the audience, and yeah, I've made a lot of friends from Germany, like exchange students that I met when I was in high school. And the same thing with Portuguese. I've met a lot of Brazilians, and Portuguese, because I speak Spanish and Italian and French. It's the same language family. So I'm working on that too. And Portuguese is so different from German that they don't really like, I don't have to worry about mixing them up. German, I assure you, is miles different from anything. So yeah, I just have a huge passion for it. I kind of fell into it in the past couple years, just meeting people that spoke these languages, and it ignited my passion. Then I got to go to these countries. I got to go to Spain and stay with a Spanish family. I got to go to Italy and stay with, my best friend, who's Italian, and I stayed with his family. And so just kind of, I didn't really do it on purpose, but I met all these people, and it just, I realized how much I love it. And now I am doing it on purpose. Like, even though I'm not going to Brazil or Germany anytime like super soon, I have a passion for the languages. So yeah.
Yeah, I'll give you one advice. Don't try to attempt Hungarian. That's one of the most difficult languages.
I've heard that Hungarian is difficult. Yeah, Hungarian, and I also like, it would be cool to speak a Slavic language, but they're just like they're quite difficult too. Some of them, like apparently, some people say Czech is the most like difficult language in Europe. I don't know.
Hungarians might disagree with you, but yeah, I think all of these languages have their own challenges, definitely.
Well, we'll see. One day, if I meet someone Hungarian, if I'm gonna go there, I'll try my hand at learning it, and we'll see.
Sounds good. So we have a date in 5 years' time. Let's see how much you can improve.
Yeah, 5 years is probably sufficient for Hungarian, or maybe not quite even. There's the U.S. released a sort of a ranking of languages and the difficulty, and how many hours it should take you to learn a certain language. And there's like level 1, level 2, level 3, and all the languages that I speak are in level 1, I believe, like French, Spanish, Italian. They're the easy ones. And then in Portuguese would probably be there too. And then the next level down is when Russian comes, or not Russian, German comes in. German is considered level 2, and then below that would be like Mandarin, all these like totally different ones. I mean, from the perspective of an English speaker, obviously. Um, so yeah, I'm sure Hungarian is definitely not level 1. Yeah.
No, thank you so much for answering my questions.
Of course, really nice to meet you.
And you.
Timmy, thank you. Those are great questions. You can see I love having this audience interaction.
Yeah, this is fantastic.
So who would like to go next? And now I'll tell you, Paula Cooley. Well, unless somebody else wants to come on, and you don't have to. I don't have to spotlight you. If you just want to ask a question or even put it in the chat, you can do that. But I think Paula does her research. That's not to scare you. Paula, are you ready? Okay. She asks really great questions though.
Lovely.
Hello.
Hi, Paula. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Except Ruth already went over the thing that we've talked about. Is Good Doctor. We're big fans. And
Right.
we were so excited when it was you reappearing. It was just like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. It was really good. But do you have any idea if they're going to ask you back?
I wish I could tell you something, but I have no idea. I mean, like I said, when they gave me the email last time, it was out of left field. I had no clue. So they keep you on your toes like that in this business. So
well, I always start with is that I'm not from Ruth's world and I'm not from your world. I am just outside looking into your life, into your careers and different things. And I like to know about behind the scenes.
Mhm.
First of all, schooling. Did you go just to a regular school system? I mean, you've been acting since 4 years old. How did you keep up with, or did you have tutors all the time, or homeschool, or how did that work?
Yeah, so I always went to public school, and if I might add, I think that is another one of the things that might have contributed to just helping me, stay normal throughout the years, because there's one place that humbles you, it's a public school. But no, I've always been, and I've always been really happy. My friends are all there, and but yeah, so when essentially in Canada, anyways, there are laws, and very similar laws in the States, that if you are in school and you work more than 3 days in a row during a school week, you have to have a tutor on set for those 3 days, and you have to do a minimum of 3 hours of school per day. So the amount of hours that, I'll give you an example to illustrate. So the amount of hours that you can work changes at certain points. So when you turn 12, you're then allowed to work 10-hour days, I believe it was. So on Ruby in the Well, I was away from home for 4 months during grade 12, or 3 months. And so that's quite big. But essentially, yeah, the typical day would look like about 7 hours of work on set. And that's not in front of the camera for 7 hours, but that's including in between shots and everything. 3 hours of school, and then a 1 hour usually for lunch. And so most days, and then if you count travel time, most days are about 12 hours for an actor who is 16, anything really like above 12. A day would be like that if you have a full day. And then sometimes with the school, and essentially how that works is you have the tutor, and you connect your tutor and your teachers back at home, and you essentially, the teachers send you the work, and because everything can be done digitally these days, and if you need to write something by hand, you print it out, write it, send it back. If you don't, you just do it on your laptop. And yeah, it was, and some planning went into it on my part. I was there for the entire first semester of 12th grade, so I took all my hard classes then, and planned a really really easy, laid back second semester because I knew I was going to be away for a lot of it. So that's probably one of the smarter things I've done, because if I had to do physics and biology and all these things while I was working full time, that would be a lot. So yeah, but no, there's laws that protect you, and so I've never fallen behind in school at all, even when I was away, because yeah, those laws exist for that reason. So
So you have graduated then from what high school level. Have you
yeah.
ever thought of taking any college courses or classes?
So, fantastic story for you all. I was enrolled and accepted at Sorbonne University in Paris for this year, and I was going to study history. But unfortunately, when I applied for my visa, they ended up losing the documents that I sent them, and the communication was terrible, and there was a huge backup and everything. And by the time the school year had already started 3 weeks ago, and I had heard nothing. I didn't have my passport, because when you apply for a visa, you need to send your passport. So I couldn't travel. And so I made the decision to no longer go to university at that point, sort of at the beginning of October, because it was like I was going to arrive, a month late in my second language for university. It would have just been, I wouldn't have been able to enjoy Paris. I would have been just buried in work. And it didn't seem appealing anymore at that point, which is unfortunate. But I am a believer that everything happens for a reason. And now I'm in Los Angeles right now, and I'm doing things, to advance my career. I'm not filming anything, but you know, taking important steps, you could say. And I'm happy. And I know I would have been happy in Paris. I mean, I couldn't, you couldn't complain, but things just turned out this way, and you just kind of have to take it in stride. So it was a big shock, because for the last year, I've been planning to go to school, and I got accepted in January, and that was fantastic. I was so excited. But it fell through right at the very last minute, kind of. In fact, past the last minute, to be honest. So yeah, kind of a wild story, but like I say, everything happens for a reason. So
When you were in high school, did you participate in plays, acting? I mean, you just at 4 years old wake up and say, "I want to be an actor," or
well, it was my parents were involved in getting me started, in that they asked me, and I really want to stress this, they did not tell me, they never told me, they always asked me. I was Throughout my whole childhood, I was always under the impression that if I wanted to stop, I could. And I was never pressured into anything. And that's probably why I was able to grow and love it so much, because pressure has a funny way of taking away your passion for something, if it's the wrong kind of pressure. But no, so they got me started, and they got me in the room with Lisa and Tom for the meeting, and they got me signed with them and everything. Which is another interesting fact, by the way, is I've been with the same agent for 14 years, my whole career. No, I totally separated work and school. I never did anything to do with acting in school except one play in the 6th grade, and that was Oliver Twist, and that was a lot of fun. But yeah, beyond that, like when I got to high school, the theater program teacher was like all over me, but I just kind of told him that I want school to be school and work to be work, and that's that. So yeah.
Good head on your shoulder. Very good.
Thank you.
Did you sing or dance?
I do. I like singing. I have my guitar right here. I love music. I think music is, yeah, it's just beautiful. It's incredible. I don't know if I sing very well. That's another topic. But I try. I think I can carry a tune. I'm a good campfire guitarist, let's say. Um, I'm definitely not the next George Harrison, but I can lead a sing along. And as for dancing, no, never. It would be tragic if I tried to dance. I think I have zero ability. So yeah.
Um, what was your thoughts, and what was the movie that you had done that you first saw your name on the trailer?
Um, on like you mean the trailers and the promotional?
Yeah, that
My name? I don't know if I've ever actually if there's ever actually been like with Dylan Kingwell on the screen. But the one trailer that I do remember that had my face in it and my lines in it was The Good Doctor. The very first trailer had me at the very end, and that was like so exciting because it's a big show and yeah. So I think that was definitely the most memorable trailer for sure because it was the first time and yeah.
I watched this morning the trailer of Ruby and the Well, and I'm just can't wait to try to find it on TV because your part was excellent. That trailer was just unbelievable.
Thank you.
It
Yeah,
drew me
no,
in. It drew me in to want to watch it. Yeah.
it's a fun trailer, that one, and Sam Price is just a joy to play. He's so yeah, he's just funny. He's your typical like odd kid, but there's a small town charm behind it, and yeah. So Amazon Prime or the BYU TV app, like I said, yeah.
What did you think when you got the role of Clark? I mean, it's an iconic
Yeah.
character. I,
Um, I was in physics class, and we were, I love this story because it really shows that I am just, a normal high school kid. Um, um, I was, I had done an audition and heard back relatively quickly, and then I did a chemistry read for it. So I knew when you get to that point, you're pretty far up. You know that they really like you. It's probably down to you and like 5 or 10 people, and it was with the director on Zoom though because of COVID. Usually chemistry reads take place in person, but it was on Zoom, and I just performed a couple of scenes. I had a really emotional scene where I needed to cry, and I did it on Zoom, which is crazy. And I received that day really positive feedback that led me to believe that probably I had got the role, but I didn't want to celebrate early, obviously. And then it was like 3 or 4 weeks after, I remember, and the waiting was killing me because and every so often throughout that process, I would get an update from Lisa, like, you're still in it, you're still in the running. It's not dead in the water at all. But there was ups and downs of that process. Like I got some points, it was like 3 weeks, and I was like, yeah, there's no way. They definitely decided someone else and everything. And I was because I wanted it so bad, right? And then at one point, I think it had been about a month, and just like 2 days before that, I'd gotten another email from my agent saying, you're still in it. Don't lose hope. You're still in it. So they're just taking their time. There's been some delays and stuff because of COVID and everything. And I'm sitting in physics class, and my teacher was really strict, hated phones. And all of a sudden my phone just starts to blow up in my pocket, like blow up. Like, I mean, like I got like one buzz, which, I didn't think anything of it. But later I realized that was the email from Lisa saying you got the part. And then my mom also at that point was on the email because yeah, she would just help me respond to things when I was in school or whatever. So she, texted me, and then she told my dad, and and my phone, I could feel in my pocket just blowing up. And I'm like, what is going on in my life right now? And I'm sitting there in class, and I couldn't take it out because literally the teacher would yell. and we were doing a bottle rocket thing where we walked outside. So I went to the back of the line as we're walking outside, and I had a moment to pull my phone out, and I just saw Lisa Lloyd and then booking, and I knew it, and I was like, oh my gosh, and like I ran up to my friend like right in front of me. I was like, I just booked Superman. I just booked the Royal Young set, and he turned to me. He's like, no way, and I was like, yeah, and I was like so happy. And I was totally not paying attention for the experiment. My teacher like lost it with me because I was just like smiling and laughing, and yeah, so it was a really fantastic moment. I was just, yeah, I mean, I was thrilled. I couldn't describe that feeling. Anytime you book something, it's just great. But to play young Clark was really, really cool. So yeah.
The trailer again is awesome too. I'm going to look into that one also. I have a list now of things I have to watch. You mentioned just now when you were talking about crying. How do you automatically cry? You just it calls it from the scene and you got to cry. What do you do? How do you get to that point?
Excuse me. Well, my approach has changed over the years. On the 100, I had a scene that ended up. Well, there was one scene that did make the final cut where I am crying, and then there was one where I was crying like way more that didn't make the final cut. It was a scene where I met my parents who had abandoned me when I was a child, and so obviously there were tears involved, and I got it done. Back then, I sort of took the strategy of just thinking of the absolute worst things that I could conjure up in my mind, really just the worst things I could conjure up, and combining it sort of with trying to, put myself in the shoes of Luca, meeting your parents who abandoned you, and sort of it sort of felt like a brute force kind of approach where I just kind of forced myself into it. And it's really tiring mentally, that approach. It's hard to recover from and go on, I found, after a day of that. I think it I mean, it didn't make the show, so I never got to see it, but I know that the director was very pleased with it on the day. I think it looked great, and it gets the job done for sure. But in recent times, I'm more about just like, after having read this great book by Michael Caine and everything, trying to develop my ability of really just putting myself in the character's shoes, like full on becoming that character. Because the thing is, like similar to that story about like, a drunk person doesn't act like they're drunk, they try to act sober. Someone who's crying, isn't trying to cry, right? But an actor is often trying to cry, right? So I haven't quite figured out how to do it yet. I mean, every time I've never, failed to cry on the job. I get worried every time that I am going to, but I haven't failed yet. I've never, in that I've never had to use fake tears. Actually, on a Hallmark movie or Lifetime movie, I think I did, called Wish Upon a Christmas, or Santa's Gift. The title kind of like changed a couple times. Directed by the same director who did The Christmas Note. I had a scene where I needed to cry, and I couldn't get there. I was like 10 or something, 12 at this point. And Terry came in, great director. I loved working with him. And he sat me down. He said, so, we're going to bring in some fake tears for you. And the thought of that made me really upset because I'm really competitive. And I didn't want, and I was like, he told me that, and I was like, roll the cameras, just roll, just go. Like I actually told him, I was like 12, and I was like, go, like, can you roll, please? Can we roll? Because I felt it coming on, and I didn't want to lose it, and it worked out. So it obviously not an award-winning method, but I got the job done, and I'm just these days I'm just really working on. I really want to just like hone the craft, and that's what I'll be working on, I mean, for the next 5, 10, 20, 40 years of my career. So yeah, in short, the method has changed and is changing.
In the series of unfortunate events, you played two characters.
Mm-hmm.
How do you change your mind thought from one character to the other? Was it hard? Were you afraid you're going to get your lines mixed up with the one person and the other person?
Well, as it happens, because there is a great fire that separates the siblings, I only appeared on screen at the same time as them, a handful of times. Um, but no, so much fun. And in terms of, I think my biggest concern at that time was differentiating the characters. Making, because they are different in the books, they are different, and that was just about reading the source material, really, and speaking with the director and the author, and everyone, just about how I could accomplish that. And I did my best, and now it's there for everyone to watch and enjoy. So yeah, it was just an honor, and a privilege. I mean, such a cool chance. And it was cool because one season was really Duncan heavy, and then the third season was really Quigley heavy. So I was lucky in the sense that I got to really focus in on one and then on the other later. So yeah, just really reading the source material and doing my best to translate the differences that are written into real life.
I'm fascinated with the idea of the language, that you can speak the 3 languages and whatever. I have in the past been fortunate to have had foreign exchange students live with us, 13 of them, 1 year at a time. And it's the opposite way, trying to get them, especially the Italians coming in. It's very hard to get them started in English.
We have an Italian living in our house right now, and
Okay.
and it is a topic of debate in my family, because they, I say they because her and her friends are Italian, and they come over. Her name is Livia. She's great. I'm going to show her this interview, say that she got a shout out. They are all just thrilled to have a Canadian that speaks their language. And in the past couple months, my Italian has improved greatly because I speak with them like every day. On the flip side, they're meant to learn English here, and I believe that, like, my parents signed a contract saying there wouldn't be any Italian spoken in the house. Which Harmony Homestay, if you see this video, I'm sorry. I don't know what to say.
I yelled
But
English, only so many times.
well, I'm in Los Angeles until December 16th, and the consensus among I've made a bunch of Italian friends this year through Livia, and the consensus has been that when I come back, it will be only English. So
our Italian son, he taught the soccer team how to swear in Italian, and the referee came on the field and said, "One of you is teaching those boys how to swear. It will stop." It was so fun. It was just so much fun.
Yeah, and Italian swearing is colorful. So
yeah. So I'm going to come to the end, but I always ask, you're so young, so you may not know, your classic old is going to be different than my classic old, but I always ask, if you were going to be in a film of an old classic movie, what would it be?
Like, if I could have had a hypothetical part in any sort of classic film. That's a great question. It would have been awesome to be a part of Forrest Gump.
Okay.
That movie is I don't know if it's classic. I miss the 90s. For me, it's definitely
I'm 70, so our classics are a little bit different.
Well, no, but I absolutely adore that movie. My favorite of all time, actually, so far. And so, if I could have played, I mean, I don't really know if there was much of a role for an 18-year-old boy in that, but if there could have been, it would have been great to have been alive at that time.
He was young. We could have been him at the young age.
That's true. Yeah. Oh yeah. You're right. But it was he just played himself. And then you had the classic 16-year-old that actually looks like 35. So yeah. Life is like a box of chocolates. Great quote.
Yeah. Well, I thank you. This has been so much fun, and Ruth and I have been waiting for this day, so it was really very much fun. Thank you so
Thank
much for
you.
answering the questions.
Pleasure to meet you. Thank you for the great questions.
Thank you.
That's great. Yeah, thank you, Paula. She always comes through with those great questions, and this is what I love, because they ask questions differently than I might, and I like that. I like being able to just turn it over to them, and they do such a good job.
Yeah.
And you are answering the questions. I've learned so much. I've been just loving all that you've been sharing. So thank you.
Of course. Of course.
All right. So is there anybody else who wanted to ask a question? Even if you didn't want to come on, you don't have to come on, but if you had a question, even if you wanted, put it in the chat. Okay. I see. Yep. I see you. Just a moment here. All right. Kelly.
Hello.
Hi. I'm just more of a statement, really, but I've only seen you in The Campfire Kiss, and I have to say that is by far one of my favorite Hallmark movies, like, ever.
I'm
And
happy to hear that. Thank you.
yeah, so I just wanted to say that. And I have Amazon Prime, so I'm definitely gonna look up that Ruby in the Well, because that sounds really cool.
Beautiful. Yeah, no, I think it's a great watch, and it's just heartwarming. It's nice. I think it makes you feel warm and fuzzy. So yeah, I hope you enjoy.
Yeah.
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 Thank you.
Nice to talk to you.
You too.
Yeah, we've got some definite Paul Green fans. Since I work for Paul Green now, I do attract that.
Do you?
Yes, I'm his assistant.
Oh, wait, wow, cool.
Yeah, that's what I've been doing. That's what happened to me during COVID. Is I stopped teaching and I became his assistant. So
Okay, awesome. And thank you. Someone sent a message, Jillian, if I'm pronouncing, or Jillian. Is that how you pronounce it?
probably so. Yeah, something like that. Okay, yeah, I see that.
Thank you for the kind message. Appreciate it.
Yeah, and that's the thing is what I love the fact that my audience that comes on, because I want to be supportive, but I love the fact that they're supportive. So then you just get this whole group, and they're just so positive, so wonderful. So and so as we wrap things up, I think I got everybody who probably wanted to go. So with the holidays coming up, now you're in Los Angeles, but you'll be home for the holidays. Is that right?
I will be home for the holidays. Yeah.
All right. So do you have a special tradition that you're looking forward to? Something that you're going to do this holiday season that you're excited about?
My family has a few. I don't know if I'll be there for putting up the lights this year, because my dad likes to do. I mean, we like to do that on December 1st. So actually, so his birthday is November 29th, so we often do it then as like a little, we cheat a little bit. So I live in a townhouse complex, and strata, and so they have very like strict, oh, you can't put up your lights until December 1st, but we often like cheat by a couple of days because it's his birthday, and we take great pleasure in that. And beyond that, tortilla is our Christmas Eve meal, which, if you don't know, it's meat pies, essentially, but it's a French Canadian dish. Comes from my grandfather, who was born in Quebec, we do Christmas Eve dinner always at my place, and then Christmas dinner at my grandparents'. In the past couple of years, it's been a little different because my nanny passed away in 2020. So it's always, going to her house for Christmas. Last year, it wasn't actually the first time. It was the second time, I guess. But it feels weird. It's hard, obviously, to not have the people that have been there your whole life. But my granddad is still kicking, and he is great. like one of my heroes. So lovely spending Christmas with him. And then on the 26th begins the World Junior Hockey Championship. And for me as a Canadian and my family, it's a massive deal. So we always do a party on the 26th with a lot of our friends, and it's a watch party because Canada always has our first game on that day. And so it's a really great it's a really great time because we don't just have like Christmas and New Year's. For us, the World Juniors is just as big a part of the tournament of the season, and that goes until January 5th. So for us, like our holidays, it kind of always feels like it goes till January 5th because that's the World Juniors. So yeah, Boxing Day is as big of a party for us as Christmas is, if not bigger, in terms of, you know, social everything gathering. So yeah, always an exciting time of year. And a couple of years ago, the World Juniors were in Vancouver, so I got to go to a game, which was a dream. It was New Year's Eve. We did lose against Russia. It was depressing, but a great experience. So yeah.
Oh, that all sounds really fun. That sounds.
Thank you.
You got a lot planned. That's nice that you have that you have all those things to look forward to, and glad that you'll be home to be able to participate in those things. And of course, we're looking forward to what you're doing now, but what you're going to do in the future, because it sounds like you probably are going to have some things. Well, I'm just going to say I know you're going to book some things and coming up. I mean, I just have a feeling.
And I can confirm that I do have work coming up next year, starting in February. So
all right.
I just can't say what it is yet, right. But I can tell you there is new Dylan content coming out at some point. So yeah.
That's exciting. We have plenty of stuff to keep us busy till then, because I got to get caught up. I got behind. I gotta get caught up. And so thank you so much, Dylan. It has been so great catching up with you. You've been just a delight, and now I won't think of you as a little kid. I'm really after now having talked with you, it's like, okay, now I can really move to, you are now a young adult. You are.
Yeah, now you have the image
yes.
in your mind. So yeah. Well, I really appreciate you having me. It's a lot of fun. I always say I love doing interviews. I don't know, it's like some actors have a thing with it, but I just, if you couldn't tell, I enjoy talking. So I enjoy socializing and meeting people and everything. So yeah.
That's great. So thank you very much. And if you guys, my audience you want to express your appreciation to Dylan, feel free.
I thank you for coming. It's been so much fun.
Of course. Thank you for the questions. I appreciate you guys.
Thanks, Ruth and Dylan. I really enjoyed this chat.
Very welcome. Very welcome. I'm trying to think of like something I can say in German. It's like
go for it.
Well, I can say like Auf Wiedersehen. Yeah, there's that. But I don't know. Oh, I can say ich spreche Englisch, Spanish, Französisch und Italienisch. Which is like, I just said I speak English, French, Spanish, and Italian, and I said that in German. And
very good.
I know a few random sentences from Babel, because I'm learning, like wie ist die Wohnung? Das ist teuer, which is like, how is the apartment? It's expensive. Wann hast du Zeit? Which is like, when do you have time? Yeah, that's about it. Sorry, but
that's awesome.
Yeah,
keep going.
Bettina's telling you it's awesome. So there you go. You got something from saying you're doing a great job. So that's good.
Definitely.
Anyways, thank you guys for being here. I appreciate it. It was nice to meet you.
Nice meeting.
Likewise.
Nice talking.
Thank you.
Thank you all for being here, and have a great weekend.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.
Well, where can I even begin? I don't think I'll say anything except just to say, can you believe that this young man is so accomplished at his age, so well spoken. I can't even begin to detail all that he's doing. And you should just, and you really need to go and check out his social media, check out his Instagram and see what he's doing now. Oh my goodness. I don't even want to get into it. I don't want to spoil it for you, but I just want to thank all of you who were able to come to that episode. You made that episode very special. Thanks especially to Dylan, to Noodlehead Productions, who had just been amazing in helping me get this all set up, and they've been so patient. So thank you guys so much. I can hardly wait to see what Dylan's going to do in the future. Blows my mind to think where he's going to be even, 6 months from now. In the meantime, if you enjoyed this episode, I really would appreciate it if you would subscribe on Apple Podcasts, rate and review. If you would then also, if you're listening and watching on YouTube, if you'd give me a big thumbs up and subscribe, that'd be awesome. Leave comments. I want to hear from you. Join my Facebook group, please. I'd love to have you join my Facebook group. That would be amazing because you could be a part of my virtual audience. And that is what makes this podcast so special. I'm so glad that I'm back to releasing these episodes. I've missed you guys. Get in that Facebook group now because there are going to be some amazing things coming up. You never know what I have planned. I've got a couple things that I'm getting lined up. So join now. Whatever you do today, remember to breathe, take a deep breath, enjoy the moment, cherish the moment. May God bless each and every one of you. Thank you for your amazing support, and I will see you on a future episode of Media from the Heart. God bless.